Hello, welcome back to another episode. So today, we're gonna try something new. We're actually gonna be doing our top fives. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna be picking, or each of us are gonna be picking our top five players in the world at the moment. So we're not gonna include, players who have been injured for the whole season, players who haven't really played this season or maybe haven't just players who are just out of it maybe this season as well. Like for example, I don't know who would put Rashford in their top five, but a Rashford, for example, like yeah. But that's just an example. But yeah, I'm gonna kick it off. So my number five is actually Virgil van Dijk. For me, guy's a man mountain, one of the greatest centre backs in football history, in my opinion. Like what he's brought to not just Liverpool but the Premier League. Honestly, it's really priceless because he came at a time when the Premier League was really suffering, really, because they weren't doing too well in Europe. It was just Real Madrid, Real Madrid, Real Madrid winning the Champions League. No Premier League team was really competing. And then Van Dijk came to Liverpool. Obviously, Liverpool weren't necessarily the best team at the time, but and he came to Liverpool when he brought back trophies to Liverpool. Liverpool hadn't been a top team since the 90s or since the early 90s, and he brought back success to Liverpool. I mean, like, where do I even start when it comes to his attributes, man? Like 1v1, one of the greatest. On the ball, his passing ability. I don't know if you've seen anyone as good as him as a centre back. His physicality, wow! I mean, it's just unheard of, man. And man, I just know attackers they hate going up against him, man. And this season, a lot of people I feel like have been underrating him, underestimating his value to the Liverpool's title charge. I think without him, they probably wouldn't be top right now. And yeah, he's helped them in many ways. And one big way is the fact that we all know Liverpool are lacking a top defensive mid to take them to the next level. If they had that top defensive mid, they probably would have beaten PSG. They probably would have been, one of the main competitors for the Champions League. But that's just what they've been lacking, and he's helped them a lot this season. In the absence of a top DM. Gravenberch has been very good as well. McAllister's been good as well. Obviously, they can't be ignored. But Van Dijk just helps them as well because he's able to step into midfield sometimes. He reads the game so well. One of the best readers of the game, defensively I've ever seen. He's able to always step in and win the ball early, start attacks early, pick passes that no other centre back in the world could pick really. And yeah, man, his value is just he's for me he's just been one of the best players in the world. So he was my number five. My number four, I'm gonna go for a midfielder now. It's Pedri. I don't know. I feel like people would be shocked with that one because he doesn't really have a lot of clout right now compared to other players. But for me, he's like not just in the modern era. He's one of the best midfielders. He's got like at the end of his career, we're gonna be putting him up there with one of the best midfielders of all time because he's got everything. He literally got everything you need for a midfielder. The way he controls the ball, controls the game from deep. It's if you're gonna try press him, you're gonna have a long day. Like he can pick any pass. He can take long shots if he has to. And he works so hard as well. He's a good tackler. He can win the ball back, on the ball, off the ball. He's just a machine. And his value to Barca this season, oh wow. I mean, Barca for me, probably the most entertaining team to watch in the world at the moment, and he is a big reason for that. The way when he's in there, they just like they are pinning you. When Pedri's there, they are gonna pin you. They're gonna pin the opponent in their own half, and it's just teams they don't really have an answer for that right now because Barca there, especially the Hansi Flick ball is very attacking, and they can control the game and create a number of attacks as well, and it just makes them a very very dangerous team. So I'm gonna let you guys go do your number 5 and 4 as well. Who wants to go next?
Yeah, I'm happy to. All right. Okay, so for me, my number 5 was actually Jude Bellingham. All right, and I think that's another one where maybe people compare to last season and say he hasn't got as many goals and assists. But I think that's purely because he's playing in a different role this season. The difference in the team is, of course, that they signed Kylian Mbappe. And in my opinion, it just hasn't worked. Not Mbappe himself, but Mbappe coming into that 11, in the same 11 as Vinny, especially. It just hasn't worked. Mbappe as a number 9 with Vinny on the left. It's making them both worse. And in my opinion, the only reason it's even working at all, the reason that Real Madrid are in the title race, despite hardly being impressive in any games this season, hardly looking like a team that fully dominates a game, is Jude Bellingham. Jude Bellingham's the main reason because he is helping to connect Mbappe to the rest of the team and Vinny to the rest of the team a little bit. He's so good in possession. He wins the ball high. He holds on to the ball and he can receive the ball with his back to goal. He does that all while covering for Vinny Jr. on the left a lot of the time, if he's not tracking back to help his left back. Always makes the right decision with the ball. He's just such an all-rounder. I think if we look at his tackling, his dribbling, his execution of his passing, he's top, one of the best in the world at all of those attributes. And I think sometimes his unselfish play means his overall quality is a bit underappreciated. I think he's a special player, and for me, he's been their key player this season. Despite Mbappe's goals, Vinny's not been the same because, as I said, I don't think it's ever going to work exactly with him on the left and Mbappe up front, with them both being at their best. That's my personal opinion. So Bellingham's doing his best to make it work at the moment, but I don't think it's going to be enough. And number 4 for me is actually going to be Ousmane Dembele. Okay, this was one I had to think about. I wasn't sure. I had other people I was considering, and I've decided, when I look at how consistent he is week in, week out for PSG, every time I watch him, he plays well. And that's something that has kind of been, his consistency is something that he's kind of developed a reputation of not being consistent. In a few big games, games in the World Cup, games in the Champions League, maybe he's not had his best game over the years. And I think it's changed the narrative. He's had a few big misses in certain moments as well. Stuff like that really powers on to make people feel as though someone's not, maybe fulfilling their potential when they're highly rated or something. For me, the change hasn't been that he's scoring more goals. I think he's scoring more goals because he's playing in a different position and he's playing in a more fluid team. But the change has been over the last 2.5 years is just simply that he's staying fit. And he's been a world-class player this season. He was a world-class player last season when he wasn't scoring as many goals either. He's a top player everyone knows he can dribble with both feet, shoot with both feet, and I think he's just so dangerous in and around the box. And I'm glad he's now, getting his flowers. Now he's gonna get the praise he deserves for a talent of his level. He's a special talent, and he always has been. So yeah, I'm happy for him.
Okay. Is it my turn?
Yeah, you go.
Oh, okay. My number 5 is, it might be a bit of a curveball to some people, but I'm gonna give Rodrigo of Real Madrid or number 5. I don't watch a lot of Real Madrid. I've seen a few. I watched against Barcelona this season, but they haven't been good. But I watched them. I watched all their Champions League games, and Rodrigo, like they've got other stars. They've got they've got Mbappe. They've got Vinicius Junior. They've got Bellingham. But for me, the guy who digs them out of the situations sometime and doesn't really is kind of an unsung hero is Rodrigo. Rodrigo is and someone like Jude Bellingham. I think Jude Bellingham did an interview where he was like, "Yeah, everyone's good, isn't it? But for him, the best player is probably Rodrigo." And you can see because he he's out there on the right, but he kind of he kind of obviously with so many good attackers, it's hard to defend against a team like Real Madrid. But whenever he's on, especially in the Champions League, when he's on the ball, he makes it count. And this season, he scored so many goals for Real Madrid to push them through. And I don't know without him. I mean, obviously, you can take out any of those players and say without this player, without Bellingham, without Vinicius, without Mbappe, they wouldn't have been able to push through. But I feel like without the goals of Rodrigo in the Champions League this season, they would have had a lot more problems making it through. So yeah, I'll just put Rodrigo there because he is a bit of an unsung hero. My number 4, fourth best player this season, I want to give it to the defender. I want to give it to Alessandro Bastoni of Inter Milan, of Inter FC Internazionale. I've always liked the way that the formation that Inter play, the 5 at the back. And one of the managers that tried to use it to a little bit of success in the Premier League was Chris Wilder when he came up with the Sheffield United team a few years back. And I feel like the way he was trying, the idea of football that he had in his mind was the way that Inter Milan play, and he wanted to use his defenders. I mean, I don't think he had defenders that were as good, but he wanted to use his defenders in the same way that Bastoni plays. Bastoni is a very good player. He's very poised as a defender, very good on the ball. He can run with the ball. He can drive. He's a great dribbler. Good timing with his challenges, and he can cross the ball very, very well. Like his crossing has helped Inter Milan score a lot of goals this season. Well, not just this season. Ever since he's been playing in that position, and also in terms of like a left-footed centre back, you don't really these days. Right now there's I wouldn't say there's an abundance of them. And he just gives another. His athleticism, his size, and his quality, he just gives his team another way to play. And I think, right now, Inter Milan are top of the league. They're still in Champions League. It's not been an easy season because the Italian league is actually a challenging league. But I feel like they have the quality, and Bastoni is a big part of the reason why they're able to stay at the top of the table and challenge and remain in Champions League and look so dominant in Champions League as well. So yeah, those are my top.
Yeah. I mean that's definitely a surprising one, for me. Like I agree when you say it, when you spell it out with Bastoni, because he does add things more than the average centre back, more than any centre back in terms of what he does on the ball, especially. So yeah, that and the comparison to Sheffield United makes a lot of sense. Obviously,
With the
in terms of
overlapping
the
centre
overlapping,
backs.
asking
Yeah,
for more than you would from a lot of centre backs, but obviously at a much higher level. So yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go straight into my number 3. I got Mo Salah at number 3. I was just talking about Van Dijk and how important he's been to Liverpool this season, but Mo Salah, for me, this has been one of his best seasons in football. Like, he might not be scoring as many goals as he was, in his goal scoring prime, but he's impressed me so much, just the way he's been able to adapt his game. He's lost a bit of pace. The Mo Salah of old that we know was able to just, make runs, and any defender could just do a through ball and he's able to catch the ball, hold off all the defenders. He was able to use his physicality very well. He's still got physicality. He's not the slowest, but he's just not as fast as he was before. So, he's had to show that he's got a lot more in his locker. And he's done just that, in my opinion. Because the way he's been performing in the midfield third, oh wow, he's impressed me so much, man. I can't lie, I didn't really expect it. I knew he was a great player, but he's shown that he's not the selfish player a lot of people thought he was. He's got into his creator bag. He's taken a step back for the sake of the team. It's very hard for teams to get the ball off him. He's able to dictate the game in a way, similarly to like wingers like Saka or Lamine Yamal or Kvaratskhelia or Grealish even in his prime. Players who are able to just slow the game down and have it played the way they want it to be played to their team's advantage. And he's done just that this season. He's even one of the top scorers in the league this season, if he's not the top scorer, if I'm not mistaken. But
yeah, he's definitely a top scorer.
He's contributed in every way for the team, man. And yeah, man, without Salah, I don't know where they would be in the league, but they definitely wouldn't be winning the league right now. And yeah, man, for me, he's been one of the best players in the world, man. He could have been anywhere. He could have been second or first as well in my list, but I think when you hear the players I have number 2 and number 1, you should agree with me. At number 2, I got one of the best players, one of the best attackers we've ever seen. His name is Kylian Mbappe. I hear what you said about, he ain't really been all that this season. He hasn't really found his way at Madrid, whether that's his fault or not. But for me, he's come clutch so many times for them, man. I know that's their style of play. They just, their talent, the talented players, they do come clutch. That's the way they play. They don't really have tactics. It's just, I don't know, man. the Ancelotti ball is very interesting, to say the least. But Mbappe has been very clutch, in my opinion, in a lot of games. Sure, there are games that he does go missing sometimes, but even those games, he manages to get a goal in there. And for me, when the games that he has been at his best, he's been absolutely unplayable. Like, we've seen glimpses of peak Mbappe, in my opinion, this season, and peak Mbappe is not a player that we can take for granted. Like, he's a sensational talent and a joy to watch. And I just think, even Mbappe at 80%, he's always going to be in my top 5. So he's my number 2. What about you guys? Who's your number 3 and number 2?
Yeah, well, for me, someone that's already been mentioned, Pedri is actually my number 3. I think, yeah, as a central midfielder, he does have everything, like you said. I think the way he really controls the pace of the game, dictates the speed of the game in a deeper area this season has really impressed me. We know his quality, we know his creativity, we know how in control of the football he is, but he's doing that when Barcelona have had chopping and changing in the center of midfield. He's doing that, and he's keeping them still able to dominate games. They play such a risky style of play where their line is really high, and it just puts more pressure on the quality being consistent all the time. You know, playing the right pass, holding on to the ball under pressure, and he does all of that while also being a great link into turning defense into attack. He's so mature, and yeah, I do think he's got everything. And the thing about him that people, you know, might not see, especially looking at the type of player he is, you know, on the tin, he's great off the ball as well. He wins the ball back a lot. I think he just has a good time and a sense of anticipation where to be, when to be there, and I don't think Barcelona would be anywhere near where they are without him this season. So yeah, that's why he deserves the credit. And my number 2 is also someone that's been mentioned, Mo Salah, right? I think in the Premier League this season, he's been clearly the key man. I genuinely think Liverpool would be struggling to make the top 4 this season if they didn't have Mo Salah. And that's despite me believing that they have a world-class defense, you know, 2 of the best centre-backs in the world, especially. Great goalkeeper. Gravenberch, who's had an amazing season. Despite all of that, without Mo Salah, I think they struggle to make top 4 because he's their whole attack, pretty much, you know. He is the person they pass to when they need to relieve pressure. For a wide player, his back to goal play is amazing. Even though he has lost a yard of pace from his peak, he's still quick and he's so efficient. That's the thing with him that's been clear this season. When they've needed him to put the ball in the back of the net, he's always done it. When they've needed him to play the perfect final pass, he's done it. And there's been tight games, you know. They've played well all season, Liverpool, to be fair. They deserve, you know, them and their new manager, they deserve a lot of credit. But there's been games where it could have easily been a draw, and if it wasn't for Mo Salah producing a piece of magic, you know, it would have stayed that way. So yeah, he's been. I don't even know if this is his best season at Liverpool, actually, but I was about to say that. I think his first season was amazing as well, but for very different reasons. And the fact that you can see he's both of those 2 players that has really changed his game. He deserves to be seen as an all-time great, and I think he is now officially, no arguments, one of the all-time Premier League greats.
Okay.
Can't argue with that, to be honest.
Yeah, it's true. My number 3 is. He hasn't been mentioned yet, but I have a feeling that he'll eventually be mentioned in this list, in other people's list. But my number 3 is Lamine Yamal of Barcelona. Probably the best 17-year-old that I've seen. Has everything, but you know, you don't see this level of poise at this age. You know, he's a young player. You know, he's got a baby photo. When he's a baby, he's got a photo of Messi. Maybe there was just destiny because he's coming to this Barcelona team, and it was just, and you know, he's all the responsibility that Messi had to make the team look great. He's just taken all of that upon himself, and you know, he's just me. I don't want to say he's a Messi regen, but he's the closest that we've seen since Messi's gone on and got a bit older of age. Yeah, and he can do everything well. He just looks good on the ball. He's got the technique. He's got the skill. He likes to enjoy himself. He's got great chemistry with his teammates. It just was a bit easy for him, you know, at this level, at the highest level that you can really play at, and it's just looking very, very easy for him. And he's just looking calm and relaxed. 17 years old. He's won the Euros. I don't think Spain would win. Spain wins that if he's not playing. So yeah, and you know, it's like I keep saying, he's 17, so he's really want to get better. Doesn't rely on his speed, doesn't rely on his technique, doesn't rely on his dribble, doesn't rely on anything really. He just plays how he, you know, in the moment how he feels like he needs to play, and it always comes off. So yeah, I'll give him third because there's definitely more for us to see. But yeah, Lamine Yamal was my number 3 for this season. My number 2 for this season is Mo Salah. I've not always been the biggest fan of Mo Salah. I mean, back in the day, if you asked me who would I prefer between Mane and Salah, it would have been Mane. And Salah, when Salah was playing with his all-star attack with his Sadio Mane and his Roberto Firmino, you know, it was 3 top players playing in the tandem. Now, I would say he's more, they're definitely more reliant on him. But even still, he's at the age of what is he, 32, 33, he's still able to play, evolve his game, still be the main guy for the goals, still stay fit, and also be an important creator for the team as well, and be consistent. Yeah, without, so somebody said without Salah at Liverpool this season, I don't they wouldn't be in the top 4, and I think I agree with that because I don't know who else will take his who else will take his place in regards of creating and scoring the goals for Liverpool. Yeah, I think they owe this league. Like you say, they have top players. They have Virgil van Dijk, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Gravenberch has been fantastic this season. Konate is a good player. But Salah is by like he's this season he stood out so much from the rest of the team. It's not even a joke. And so yeah, I give him the number 2 position for me in the world this season. Yeah, he's just been so good. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
just go straight into my number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you already mentioned him just now, Lamine Yamal. I mean, this man, I don't even know, I can't even call him a man yet. This kid is just sensational, man. He has brought my love for the game back because these last few years, having to watch Bruno for my team week in, week out is really, really taken a lot out of me. But now whenever I watch Barcelona, it just brings a smile to my face, man. The things this guy is able to do with football. It's like he's able to succeed in every single scenario where, you know, he's got the ball with his left foot. And I ain't seen anything like this since Messi. Has to be said. He's 17, but he's already the best player in the world, in my opinion. Like, I don't know how far this guy can go. Inshallah, he doesn't get any injuries, but if he's able to stay fit for his career, for the majority of his career, he might be looking at the greatest footballer ever. Because he's so complete. Oh my goodness! Like, I'm pretty sure this guy could play left back and still look like the best player in the world. This guy could play centre mid, still look like the best player in the world. He's such a complete player, man. It's oh my gosh. But yeah, man, I don't think there's much more I can even say about the guy. He's just an amazing footballer, and oh man, like that's such a joy to watch, man. Honestly, like. Oh man, yeah, that's my best player in the world. Anyways, Lamine Yamal. Go on, Casey, use yours.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to agree with you. You know, and yeah, I actually think he's underrated because he's 17 years old, right? I think if everybody watched him, took his performances for what they are, knowing that he was, say, 26, people would look at him and just understand, oh, okay, we're seeing something we haven't seen for a long time. This is a special player with talents that are just, you know, from from space. I like when I'm watching him, I genuinely don't know how he does some of the things he does. He's done at least 4 or 5 things over the last 12 months that I've never seen on a football pitch before. I could even go back to last week where Barcelona played Benfica in the second leg of the Champions League. And 2 goals he scored were goals that I've never actually seen something like that happen before. One of them, he had 4 players surrounding him. He held onto the ball, dribbling through them, got around the box, told Rafinha to slow down as he's running towards the box, and played a perfect outside of the foot pass in an angle I just never seen this before. It confused Glenn Hoddle, who was commentating, right? Because he was thinking it must have been a mistake. He must have been trying to shoot, and he, himself, who was a great technical player, he just couldn't get his head around the fact that somebody had thought of doing that, let alone executed it. And that's what Yamal does to me. It's like I'm watching him like, wow, how did you even think of doing that? And then when he thinks of doing it, he executes it, and that's what's special. Sometimes with the greatest teenage talents we've seen, we see these signs of, oh, this is different. But we know, okay, they're still a few years away from being complete and being able to execute regularly, right? There's been no adjustment period for him. Like, honestly, he's come into men's football at the age of 16, and he's ready, and not ready to be part of the team, ready to lead the team. They turn to him. They give him the ball when they're struggling, and he makes them play. In the games that he's missed this season, especially there was a period in the first half of the season where every game he didn't play, they lost. And then every time he did play, they were winning. And it was that stark the difference, right? They have other good players. Rafinha's had a great season, he scored a lot of goals and assists. Lewandowski scored a lot of goals. The defenders, they have top defenders. But they can just rely on him to do things that no other football player in 2025 can do. You said he could go down as the greatest ever. I don't know if I'm ready to do that just because of Messi. But he's the only person I've even considered could have the capabilities of getting close. That's what I'll say. That's really what I'd say. So yeah, he needs to get his flowers now as well. I know he's 17, but you never know what can happen in life. Football, in sport, injuries, etc. Hopefully not, but he's that good right now, and people need to give him the respect he deserves for it. Spain would not be European champions without him. Barcelona would not be top of La Liga without him. And Champions League, one of the favorites for the Champions League as well. So yeah, special.
Yeah, I think you're right. He needs to receive his flowers now. Guys say, "Oh, he's 17." People always use age as a reason not to put somebody, not to rate somebody on the world stage. But nah, man, if you're 17 and you can do it, man. And he's doing it. Anyway, my number one, my top player for this season so far is Ousmane Dembele. There's a few reasons. The first reason I'll say is because I feel like this is a redemption. There's a bit of a redemption arc for him. A lot of guys. I think you mentioned, Casey, that he's had a few moments in his career that have maybe taken his confidence away. Guys have, he went to Barcelona for big money, and Barca never really saw. Even the whole environment was messed up. They never really saw what they thought they could see. They never got what they thought they could get from Ousmane Dembele. That's fair. But he's come back to PSG. He's come back to France. He's playing at PSG. Yeah, this season I don't know. I don't see anybody stopping him this season. I think this season Luis Enrique has made him the main man. Even last season, Dembele was the second man behind Mbappe, and he was still top player. He wasn't scoring. He wasn't scoring so many goals, but you can still see. Okay, now this guy's his ability, his confidence is back. Now this season, he's just taking it to a whole new level. So as a second man, he was a top player. As a first man, he was a top player. You don't really get a lot of players that are able to, you know, to to be like, some guys have to be the main man. Some guys you have to play around. He's not necessarily somebody like that. He's always somebody. You put him in the best position, he will do what the team needs to be done. Also, I don't think there's anybody that plays that dribbles as well as him at high speeds. I feel like when he's running, it's hard to defend against him because he's always running quick. He's got the left foot, he's got the right foot. He can shoot with the left foot, he can shoot the right foot. Scores worldies almost every single week. Yeah, man. Right now, I feel like PSG. This is the strongest for me. This is since the Qataris took over PSG. This is the strongest PSG team that we've seen. Even though there's no Mbappe, the balance is just correct, and I feel like this season is probably their best chance to win Champions League. I haven't really checked how many points they have in the French league, but I feel like they've already got that in the bag. The team chemistry is great, and he's just a top leader for them. And yeah, I feel like he could potentially get a Ballon d'Or if PSG do win the Champions League this season. So yeah, that's my number one player for the season, Ousmane Dembele.
Hard to argue with that. Honestly, he's been that good. Yeah, definitely deserves the praise that he's finally getting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that those are our lists. We had a lot of variation in there. We had some names that I wasn't quite expecting, and yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. Everyone's giving their top fives. I think. Yeah, I agree. I think there was a good amount of variation. Yeah, that was good.
I guess next is gonna be
1
us
second.
doing our.
I'm gonna stop the recording.
Yeah, stop
Yeah.
that recording.